When my father and my grandfather uh, bought a little business for probably like 10 grand. It was a distribution company in the merchandise mart, and I wouldn't even call it that. They were the guy who sold it was like 90 years old, and he was basically field sales for about 5 different women's belt manufacturers from New York, and this is in Chicago. And my father had gotten out of school, and he knew I'm not working for anybody else. And my grandfather was switching something, don't know why or what that was about. And they bought this little company. And then I end up um, working there, mom, dad, grandma, and grandpa. He did the mail. And thinking, how do I get out of here? It's a transitional thing for a couple of months. And then 7 years later, I'm sitting in our attorney's office. And uh, this attorney they had hired when he was like my age back then in my 20s because he was good and he was cheap. And they were just a little tiny business and they wanted good and cheap. Now he's not good and cheap anymore. He's got a team and he's working with multi-million-dollar companies doing estate planning for wealthy families. And we're sitting in his office, and I'm going to get to my experience with our founding members and how to build a company today in this new environment. And I call the method flexible founder mode. And flexible founder mode started years ago. I just didn't know what it was. Now I do. And we're sitting in the attorney's office, and he thinks like an attorney. That's the problem. And I'm watching this and I'm seeing the clock tick. And at this point, he's like probably $800 an hour. And all we're talking about is something he doesn't even understand, which is I went to my dad after I scaled the company and turned it into a brand, and we became the top distribution company in the industry in the country, and the only one that had a brand. Everybody else was basically just the sum of the parts of the manufacturers they represented. So if one of the manufacturers had a bad day or went under or whatever, their business went into crisis. And what I was able to create as a creative entrepreneur doing something new, taking action in market with a massive amount of resistance and people telling me, oh, it's not going to work. And I kept doing it and it worked because it always does when you can think this way and take action on it and deal with the friction of the people saying, don't do it like that. It's people actually hating you because you're disrupting their comfortable routine. Not because I did anything big or created anything new, but because I saw what was coming into the market immediately. And I went after it. And I'm sitting there thinking, it's done. It's done. It worked. Now what do I do? And we got in corporate, not we, us, but before it was small boutique manufacturers, mostly in San Francisco Bay Area, creative hippies. They don't know how to run a company, but they know how to make product. And that's an interesting environment to work for people like that. And we were good at it. And my dad was very good at the relationships. I was very good at building the infrastructure and the business environment and the structure and the teams and the reporting and everything and the brand and the territory and just keep going and going and going and getting everything so it really coordinated and worked. And every time I'd see a new idea, I'd run into it. And all of a sudden, we were number one in the whole country in the little niche we were in. And I remember thinking, I got to go get a real job. So I got to go to Kellogg and learn real business. That's what seriously, that's what I thought. And I go to my dad, I said, I need to run the company now. And he's like, all right. He didn't care. He ran the money and played with the computer and talked to the manufacturers, and he knew how to kiss their ass. Kissing ass of creative people is an art. you, you ever been in watch the music business? It's the same thing. You're the best. That song, I've never seen a song like that. I don't know if it'll sell though. He was great at that. I just told him the truth. I was like, "I don't think we could do this anymore. Not like this." Or, "No, no, you're not pushing us around." He did the same thing, but he did it in a different way. The way he did it worked. The way I did it created friction and problems. That's why that wasn't the best job for me. And then I got good at it, but I didn't like it because I'm not a kiss ass. And kiss ass helps in certain businesses and industries. And that role is important. It's not really kissing ass, it's connecting with people around their own confusion of being so myopically self absorbed. All they can see is their creative product is not getting the treatment they want, even if everyone else is looking at it and saying, "Ah, no, that's a skill." He had that skill and he knew how to map out money, good at money. I did everything else. Um, I took care of customers a lot. I didn't like it, but I did it. And then I bought it, built a team of people who liked it and did it well, better than me. I'm not good at anything. That's the point. um, so between Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, I'm more like Charlie Munger, not Warren. Warren's good at money, finance. Uh, Charlie was too. But what Charlie was good at is what I'm good at. I'm a human learning machine and a human doing machine when I'm learning, because I'm learning while I'm doing. And I can handle impact and people saying, "I don't like that guy. What is he doing?" I'm like, "Well, I'm taking your business away from you." Is what I'm doing. That's why you don't like it. And you're not seeing the change that's come in the market. And I'm just one and you don't even know it. 2 years later, though, you're going to know. And they did. They knew. And I watched those showrooms collapse. And their private little inside secret deals with New York, money was being kicked back from a lot of buyers, too, from big, huge national chains. And I knew how it worked and I watched it. They brag about it. And I'm like, when that brand is done, you're done. And that's what happened. And we rose. Um, that's the old days. That's the old days. And I said, I got to take over the company. I don't know what to do anymore. And he said, yes. And we're sitting in the attorney's office and he just freaked out. He's like, you can't do that. He's too young. Where's the gray hair? I got no hair. I had a lot of hair back then. It wasn't long and in my face anymore, like when I was in high school. I wanted to be I wanted to play in Black Sabbath, basically. So you need long hair, cigarettes, black T-shirt, the whole criminal. I was a pretty good criminal back then. I wanted to be a good criminal, so I became a good one. Stoner pothead burnout. I was on a state championship football team. I became good, even though they never played me, but I was good. But I didn't fit into the infrastructure. Same thing. It's always been that way my entire life. And we're there. Flexible founder mode got us there. And I left, I quit. I didn't talk to my family for a year. I'm like, I want the credit. And the answer was, we did it together. And I was like, well, not really. No, I did this and you supported it. And most men would not have done that with their sons. But that's what happened. And I got tired of hearing, it's great what you did to help your dad with his vision. That's not what happened. And that's not a good or bad thing. And it's not a slam on him. He didn't care. He was perfectly happy. He's like, oh, I don't have to do all that. You're going to do it. Go. I'll fund it. As long as you don't lose this money. I didn't. I didn't need to raise money. I didn't need help. I needed to be able to have time to figure it out and win. And it worked. And now here we are again, but not doing it that way. That's an old model. My experience with our founding members is the new model for me. And like Charlie Munger, I look underneath the architecture and say, what is the mental model for this? What are the principles underneath this that always work, regardless of culture, time, geography, or belief systems in the market? That's the difference. And that's another 2 years. And most people don't. They quit and they take the money. And the success is in getting the money. And I always looked at that as a failure. So if somebody gives me 10 million bucks, I'm like, oh no, I failed. Goldman Sachs just gave me 10 million bucks. I work for a company. Goldman Sachs gave them like 10 million bucks. And I'm like, oh, that's too bad. Well, I got 200 grand out of it as a base, and then fired in 6 months after I got them a deal. They could have sold the company to Allstate instead of American Family Insurance, but I couldn't partner with these people. That's the problem. And now we can do it differently. We don't have to spend, who needs all the money? You don't need any money. You need a little bit. You can do this stuff for a couple grand a month today if you do it right, meaning the way you want to do it. That's the critical secret. It's how will you do it? Who are you? How do you bring into your world people who will complement you? And how do you do it where you have a business model where everyone makes money when your business succeeds? Then you don't have to pay anybody, except, certain people have to get paid for certain skill types. That's always true. I did that inefficiently for a company called Call Sales Partners. Inefficiently, meaning it was expensive to figure it out, but I got there. And then I knew what the next step was. And then the minute I could drop the rope, I did. This time it's different because now I'm not working myself out of all the jobs. I created a role for myself. Now I never have to do this again. Never. I never have to go do another transition again. And I know it. That's why I feel good. And watching myself get locked out of LinkedIn for 3 days, my basement filling up with water because of a vintage home company that doesn't have anybody in the company anymore since a private equity buyout a few years ago that understands how vintage homes work or even knows how to sell an HVAC system, not to mention solve a chronic plumbing problem without just charging and charging and charging and having people running around the house that don't know anything about plumbing. And I'm like, I found a good plumber. And I think I beat Google. My home group, the local strategy for this entire entrepreneur experience company came out of my basement flooding when it shouldn't have. After the best plumbing company, according to Google, and branding and marketing and money in the region did not have one person in that company who understood plumbing in an old house. They were all gone. And even the ones that were there weren't that good when the founder left, probably. There's a way to solve that problem for the entire society. The entire society. And it's a global solution with a local chapter component. I saw it immediately, February, end of February. It's March 20th. It's not done. Doesn't matter. It's piloting. The teams come together for the local chapter. And best people win. What's best? Blood, sweat, and tears to get good. Now can win against shortcuts, taking money, and marketing savvy. Finally, I've wanted this my whole life since the popularity contest stuff started in the 80s. And I watched it and I thought, what is going on? How am I going to fit into this? I don't get it. I don't like it. I don't know how to fit into it. I don't want to fit into it. But how am I going to make a living in this society? And every single hierarchy rejected me. I tried all of them. CIA officer, lobbyist at the Navy for a consulting firm, London School of Economics, School of Advanced International Studies at Johns Hopkins, INSEAD in France. I don't come from a background or a family where that's normal. I created that from nothing. And I didn't grow up poor. That's not the point. I grew up middle class, Deerfield, America, microwave tuna fish. Okay. And I created this thing. And there is absolutely zero chance of this having succeeded. And I could have lost everything without are 12 private mentor peers and partner groups. And I think of it differently now. It's stage 8 on the Red Pill Pathway coursework. It's how do you create your mentor, peer, and partner circle without paying anybody? And I did it. We did it. I couldn't have done it myself. We did it. How? I've been able to engage with 12 world-class business traction and personal acceleration experts, coaches, and consultants daily. There's nothing missing. Nothing. World-class. The speed, the ability, the fun, when you don't have to figure out stuff you're not good at anymore as an entrepreneur, requires me to back the hell off and say, my impatience is my impatience to deal with. And the frustration of, why didn't you do that? Is, why couldn't I explain that? And then I don't have to figure out how to explain it. I can talk to Rick, strategy. And he's like, oh, got it. Integrate, architect. It's all together. It gets fun when the core group stabilized. That took a long time. We've gone through iterations for almost 2 years of people coming in and out, wrong people. And then it's just Brian and I, Brian Muka, co-founder. I'm like, you want to be the co-founder? It's like, yes. I said, oh, good. You're not leaving. You're the only one who hasn't left. And we knew, like, we're going to do this. And then immediately the core group started showing up. And that wasn't that long ago. That's months. And then boom, done. Without this happening, I'd be years behind and I would have dropped the big vision. Everybody told me to, it's too hard. I had a lot of people give me advice. Go sell. No, I already did that. It didn't work. They're like, well, but you can make money. You're leaving money on the table. It's not about, you don't understand. And I had to stop explaining. Perhaps I would have had to downsize my living situation, and I was told no. I'm like, you already did that to me. We're not doing that again. And she was right. It still is. And this old vintage house, you're talking big money. There's always one homeowner who gets screwed. And I know better. I've done a gut rehab in the city of Chicago while I was racing sailboats 4 days a week and presiding over a business that was starting to die because the entire industry, which is now gone, crushed by the Targets, the Walmarts, the technology folks and Amazon, all of it, just the business crushed. Like, I got to get out of here. And I did. But while that was happening, I bought a house in the city and gut rehabbed it. And I did that to my spouse, wife. Pain. There's still pain, but we're through it. Can handle this. And I'm like, how much is that plumbing going to be? 40 grand? Oh, great. They know what they're doing. Finally. You know what a big deal it is to find a plumber that knows what they're doing when you own an old house? Or anybody. I found an HVAC company. That's our furnace went, the roof went, the windows went, it all went over the last 2 years. It's huge money. And every single contractor was painful until now. That's winning against Google, winning against the lead gen companies. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to do it globally. And we're going to bring it all together so we can win against Google and Amazon and those people. Finally, I don't care what you do. I'm doing it. We're doing it right now. Brand clarity. Without Maria Platusic, I would have created a total disaster in the customer experience for this video metaverse campus on Wheelo because I wanted it to be confusing. I wanted an Alice in Wonderland experience. And she's like, no. I said, you're right. So she directed their designer in Italy. Custom video game space with little video. Pretty cool. I couldn't have done that on my own. Product design. Roan Sande Villahermosa. Created a massive I knew I was going to lose it. 2 years. To do hard is unusual. To be able to handle somebody like me is very unusual. Doing something completely unknown, don't know what's going on, kept up the whole time, and not an assistant, had a product. No, not an assistant. Technology relationship. Without Jesse, we'd be drowning in the technology nightmare of IT. The entire IT infrastructure in the United States and globally is screwed up. He understands that fully and knows what to do about it. I I can get 90%. I can probably get 50% of the way there with the IT stuff. Technology, I can't use it well, but I understand it and how to integrate it, and I play in it. Doesn't matter how complicated it is. I can get pretty far. But, to get the technology actually working and the user experience where it needs to get, you can't do that without a good IT person because the IT infrastructure underneath the whole thing is what matters. And these companies have all ignored that. They put all the money into the marketing department, and now they're paying Target. It melted down before. Why do you think that is? They didn't build an IT at Nordstrom. You can't even buy something or return something at Nordstrom without a problem. I watched a 70-year-old woman yesterday in Nordstrom with somebody who worked at Nordstrom, and they're sitting down in a chair for 20 minutes trying to figure out how to return something on their mobile app. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. That was the best company in the United States. That was our number one client, Nordstrom, Central States Buying Region, for years. I remember when they opened it. Smartest retailers in the country. They still are probably, but they can't execute because their IT infrastructure is a mess. Why did that happen? I don't know who consulted, but somebody did. I don't know who outsourced, but somebody did. At a certain point, it breaks. We're at that point everywhere. Jesse knows how. Hard to find that. Our furnace, best furnace company in the country, Carrier. What failed? The thermostat and the humidifier. They recalled it. Why? IT. And I'm like, the guy comes out, he's like, "That's not what we can do about it. It's IT problems." And they kept blaming, I'm sure that you know how it works. If you've been in business, you know how this works. Um, but we can end this. Networking. Mike, I got to pronounce it right. I don't speak Kentucky yet, but I'm getting there. Ashabraner. 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 Yeah. I learned how to say "u" and "u." Still wrong when I lived in Paris. Still can't do it right. I'm working on it though. He scoped out a serious high-level networking concept at state scale and a way to do partnerships in a new way without the reciprocity stuff. Brilliant. Teaching us. Shanda, modern thinking to get me out of my complexity and everything. I have never seen anybody use AI right the way she does. The AI is done. You don't need to learn AI. You need to learn how to ask it the right questions and get an answer from it. She knows how to do that without even thinking about it. So she's so good at it. She doesn't even realize she's good at it. That's me too. I don't even realize I'm good at what I do because I just don't even think about it. Same with her. Business development, Mark Shays got us focused on a core message platform and into clarity, and I won't use it myself. I'm like, I'm not using an elevator message ever again in my entire life. I've built too many of them. I've been talking about it for 30 years, elevator messages. I'm not doing it. Everyone else can though. And Mark he did it with me. He got me to clarity around it. So I'm not as confusing, but I'm just not going to use it. Brian Amuka, invincibility, freedom, changed how I view myself, people, and turned fear into freedom every day with Brian. And he's doing it for the whole group. He'll do it for you too. You don't just learn how to do that. It's years. Navy special operations, parachuting out of airplanes, diffusing bombs in war zones underwater, and even harder, starting businesses. He did that too. That's the hard part. Medical sales, number one in the country in a big diagnostic company. That's harder than being in a war, he said. In some ways, not as, it's complicated. Louisa Jovanovic, Money Clarity. Um, Sometimes I have to talk to her every day because I'm like, ah, and she's like, you know what you're doing. You're good at it. And it's not you, it's them. It's not you, but maybe don't do it like this. She was talking about AI. She's like, if you're triggering people, ask the AI what will be less triggering. And I'm like, oh my God, we have to create an AI model for every single person who joins our annual campus. You'll have your own AI trained for you without all the marketing crap in it. Brian knows how to do it. Louisa's done it. Rowan did it for me. And Shanda can do it in her weekly session. It's huge. Now you don't have to worry about AI anymore. The AI is done. You don't have to learn how it works. Let the data scientists figure it out. Just learn how to use it simply. You don't need an AI course. You need to bring the AI a problem. That's it. And then you learn how and you're done. And you train the model to be who you are. That's the key to it. Head trash. My favorite group every week is Judy's group. Head trash. Take out the head trash. Because the minute I get in there, I start feeling okay again. And this, you crush her. I don't even have to do the whole Psych K process. I've done it with her, but I don't have to do it every time. I know I've done energy stuff for 30 years. So all I do is I go like this. And my brain hemispheres come together. I feel it and I'm okay again. And you can't have stress in your neurological system when the other chemicals are pumping through it, and she can get you there. It's unbelievable every week. Next level. Entrepreneur freedom. So I meet Shine. So what'd you do yesterday? Well, I jumped into a glacier and fractured my collarbone. Oh, what are you going to teach? Entrepreneur freedom. What else did you do? I was a travel writer. We raised my kids in Utrecht in the Netherlands. Like, I get it. I've done that stuff, but not like her. I know about Anthony Bourdain. She's like him. Here. Now, who's going to make this happen? Rick Meekins, business builder. Now, I have confidence that this company can scale infinitely without me having to figure that out. I've never done it. I've always gotten it 80%, 90%, and then somebody's got to take it. And this is different. So I've done it multiple times since I was in my 20s. This is different. This is new. It's bigger and flexible founder mode, and it doesn't exist in the world yet. There's versions of this kind of stuff in the spiritual industry. It's an industry. There's stuff like this in every industry. Everyone is doing something like this, medical, healthcare. We can come together. But we're doing it for entrepreneur platforms, not just for entrepreneurs, for anybody in the world who's self-employed. It doesn't matter what you do. I'm told that's not a good message platform, but it is, because that's the only way I can do it. I don't do elevator messages anymore. Other people in our group will. I'm done explaining things to people. It is hard to describe what it's like living as an entrepreneur, not having any gaps in business traction or personal development. And the realization that this is the beginning staggers my imagination. I have an active feed now on Facebook of people who want to get off Upwork. I have had, I forget the number, 327 Upwork contracts over the years. I was early to Upwork when it wasn't even Upwork. It was called something else. And that technology is a nightmare. And it's so wrong. It's done. It's 2.0. That's what it is. 3.0 is they're on Facebook and they're like, work with me, work with me, work with me. Well, no, it's not going to work like that. It's got to get curated. It's got to get organized. You got to learn how to work together. I know how to do, not me. We know how to do it. Done it for a year since it started. You want to get anything done in the team, you got to bring in Pakistan. You got to bring in India. You got to bring in the Philippines as equals. Not working for you, sitting around the table, not dictating to them what to do. And not having them lie back to you because what you're asking them to do is stupid and they know it and they don't know what to do. And they're like, well, they're paying me. I'll do whatever they want. The feeling of gratitude I have is hard to describe. It's been a long haul through a tough grind of paying my own way. I don't take money, constant transitions and near-death experiences. I've had more near-death experiences than all entrepreneurs. You have to. Always failing into success. That's the entrepreneur work. This is not for entrepreneurs only. Entrepreneur experience is for anybody who wants an entrepreneur experience. Better personal acceleration and business traction. How's that, Mark? I think I'm getting better at it. Knowing that I've got a place to go for every possible problem, challenge, or need changed my life permanently. It no longer feels hard, overwhelming, or even possible to succeed today. And this is with not having enough cash to pay this plumbing company and having to go into more debt for this damn house because I'm not moving, because we anchored in a community we wanted to be in, and we made a decision and we're not leaving. And without a stable income, it's almost a miracle. It is not almost, it's a miracle that we're still in this house and it didn't crush us. Miracle, because of the bad service providers. And I didn't go above my means. I had a lot of equity and I could afford it. But to do this entrepreneur experiment at this stage in my life with a kid in this neighborhood and not have to downsize and leave the neighborhood is a miracle, especially with the house. Without the house, it would have been fine. The plan was fine. It was all the numbers worked until the house attacked us. This is the first time in my life that I felt that things will get simply finished. It's always been pain at the end, not this time. People have each other's backs. And even when things get chaotic, that it's a serious issue or real problem, it's all fine. I got serious problems and I'm not worried about it. I can handle it. I'm going to share this new model, how it works for you, and give you ideas about how to get started yourself as the coaching, consulting, and entrepreneur industry shifts past old approaches. And that's what we're doing. And that's what I'm going to share. And that's part of my role. My role is product quality, share the vision, pathways for anybody, regular people, no matter where you live or how much talent you have, to succeed. I know how to do it. I've done all of it. That's why I know how. I can simplify it. Finally, took years to get to this. And my other role is to have fun doing it and not do anything that I'm not excellent at anymore. And I know that's going to be true for the rest of my life. And I've never known that before.